Hello to everybody once more time. I'm Kirilla and I'm here from NoNameCon org team, and I am very glad that Philippe have possibility to share his knowledge with us today with his workshop about bug bounty hunting. And Philippe, take your time, what you need, and give us the best you can. And thank you one more time for this great workshop.
Thank you for the introduction. Let me check how many of you are here. Wait 1 second. So these are the slides, and this is the URL for you to load them on your computer. This is going to be a hands-on workshop. So we're gonna spend around an hour with some introductions, and then we're gonna probably take 2 hours or maybe 3 to do some exercises. And I was not very sure that it will work because this workshop was tested during DEF CON, which it was 3 weeks ago, mostly, almost a month. And nothing really changed from the scope perspective, so we're ready to go. So let me check quickly. How many of you are here? 15, I guess, right? So I don't know if you can tell me how many of you. I mean, we have a Discord channel. I'm not sure if you all have it, but let me go here. Okay.
Yes, in case of any support, I will redirect any question from Discord channel to you, or also we have possibility to ask question during this webinar, and I'll be here for you.
Okay, I just wanted to know how many of you had any experience with bug bounty hunting? Any experience at all? So
I think we can put plus signs in the chat right now.
yes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So did you all get the slides? Will they work for you? So it's important for you to have the slides because we need to first, we need to check the, okay. Yeah, it's difficult, bug bounty hunting. So we need to set a lab first. So it's important for you to download the VM, and the VM, it's, I have too many tabs here. So the slides, there's a lab instructions that you need to open, and we need to be sure that you download this VM. I see that many of you are already on the file, so it's good. So this is the most important step for the workshop to work properly. And you need to create an account. It's optional, but it would be nice if you have it. Integrity. This workshop is not sponsored by any means by Integrity, and I recommend you to create a DigitalOcean account. This is my referral code. You could use another code or not code if you want. That means that if you log in with this URL, I will get some credit. I don't know how much, but something. So let me know if you had problems installing or loading the VM. So what do you, I will do it from the beginning. So this is like the preparation step. So what you need to do is once you downloaded the VM, it's I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna delete it. It's loaded here. I don't know if you follow me. If you have questions, just interrupt me because this part it's very important for the rest of the workshop, right? So once you downloaded the VM, so I'm gonna remove it. So I'm gonna load it again. If I'm going too fast, or if you know these steps, I don't know what your expertise is. So I'm gonna, one of the things that happens in DEF CON, I don't know how many of you have ever been to DEF CON before, but when me and my friend, we prepare the workshop, we need to prepare for any type of, any level of expertise. So that makes it more difficult because we need to also be assisting people or giving them instructions on how to do things that for some people might be very simple and for some people it's difficult. So one of the things that we discover that it works better is that instead of using the VM, we will just log in into the VM using SSH, right? So let me know if you have any problems with this step. And after this step, I can go. Yeah, so delete all the slides. So after this step, I can go directly to the presentation. I had many things that I was doing last night. Checking, so here, let me clean up a little bit. So you had the lab, and the slides. Okay, so we are already here on the slides. So let me know if you have any problems with the VM. Okay, yes, that's important. So let's go. I'm about to this. So the username is bug. Oh wait, let me log into it just to be sure. The user, I think it's bug. And the password is Hunter. Yeah, so I'm loading the VM here. So how many of you do you know nuclei? Okay, not a lot of people know nuclei. And what about axiom? So you're only one person. Okay, so a lot of things to learn. Let's go straight. So did you all manage to book Hunter? Okay, so I'm looking, and what I need to do here is that I will connect to the VM using SSH. So we'll use bug at and the IP address that I get from ifconfig. If you don't know what I'm doing, ask me. So here, so now it's easier because I'm, wait, let me, it's the wrong password. Something, okay, it's a little slow. Okay, so once you log into the VM using SSH, and the reason why we did it this way is because the VMware player, and also VirtualBox has a lot of problems with different screens and different configurations. So what's happening? So are you all done with this part? We can go back later if you haven't done it yet. So let me go back to the slides. So I'm gonna go in presentation mode. So we're gonna stop for a while that part. So let me introduce myself. My name is Philippe Delteil. It's a French name in a Spanish-speaking country, so I have to spell it pretty much all the time. I studied computer science in Universidad de Chile, which is the oldest and biggest university in my country. I started in cybersecurity in a weird way. I started doing a talk in DEF CON and Sky Talks. If you don't know about DEF CON, there's a SUF conference. It's like it's actually a village that is called Sky Talks, where you can give a talk without being recorded and with some safety measures. And so I started doing a talk and giving a talk about a public leak that I did like 2016. And after that, I started to really work into security field, and next year I did another workshop. It was about Wi-Fi hacking, and I did it in China and in the US 2 years ago before the pandemic. And right now I work as a bug bounty hunter, probably 90% of the time. But it's getting difficult. It's difficult. It's not getting. It's very difficult to have a proper steady income. I've been doing it for a year, and some months I'm lucky. Some other months I don't get any bounties, and some websites are not fair, in my opinion. We actually was discussing this with a guy that got banned out of HackerOne. Some programs, they just like make up things not to give you a valid bug. Like they will say things like the bug it's not working properly when it is, or they will ask you to test things that you cannot test because of the bug itself. So I have some more examples that I don't want to focus in that part too much. So what are we going to do in this workshop? I have 5 exercises plus 1. Probably the last one we are going to be able to do it. And at the beginning I thought that it would be too long, but during the last workshop, most of the people managed to finish it. So the first part is that we're gonna use a tool called BBRF, which means Bug Bounty Framework, Bug Bounty Recon Framework. Yeah. So it's used to store your information of your programs, of your targets, right? And so in the second exercise, we're going to use some recon, and recon actually means like knowing information about your target or your program. This could be something like how many domains the program has, how many URLs, or actually what I use is basically domains and URLs. And with URLs, you can start attacking them with automated tools like Nuclei. So the second exercise is going to be the use of Recon and BBRF. And the third exercise is going to be using Nuclei to scan for some vulnerabilities. And then I will explain you a bit more about Nuclei. And then we are going to show you, I'm going to show you how to hunt for CVS. CVS that I actually got some bounties in integrity like a month ago. And I will also show you how to, well, this is the easy part, and probably you're not gonna find it that interesting, but it's how do I send reports, or how do I store my reports, because at some point at some point you have many type of reports and also a big amount of reports. For example, I've sent in HackerOne, I've sent 260 bugs, but in another platform, Open Book Bounty, I sent already 2,500, something like that. And I will explain you why so many. So the last part is about installing and using Axiom, and these tools, Nuclei and Axiom, are pretty new. I've been using Nuclei for a year and Axiom for 6 months. They are pretty cool, and I will show you why they're pretty cool. So with Axiom, what you could do is that you can distribute any command or any tool in several machines, or several droplets or VMs, whatever you want to call them. And that's very useful when you have, well, this is what this part was for DEF CON. We had a little token 3D printed, so I won't apply here. So one of the things that people really ask about, or that a lot of people look for information, is how to start, because like many of you, probably you want to get into deeper in terms of book bounty, or deeper in technical tasks or knowledge. And one of the things that you usually struggle is where can I start? What can I do first? Where should I do first? Where can I read the books or information relevant to this topic? And many people make the mistake that they want to read all the books that they can find, and then after a while they will just like get into integrity or HackerOne or BookCrowd. But and it happened to me that I knew some people that were doing book bounty hunting, and I was always like, well, someday or next week or next month I'm gonna try it, but I didn't know how to approach it. So it took me a while. So what I did is that I started looking for YouTube videos. I think after DEF CON, after last DEF CON last year, because they uploaded a lot of videos. Many of the things that were usually only live, they were recorded. So it was cool in that sense. And one of the things that I studied was Jason Haddox, which Jason Haddox, it's a well-known book bounty hunter. I think right now it's not really doing book bounty, but it's always there creating content. So when one of the videos, in that video, if you watch it, he will tell you a lot of tools, how to do recon, how to discover more assets of your targets, because the more assets you got, the more chances you have of finding a bug, right? if you have all the assets, all the URLs, all the domains, you have more chances of finding a bug in one of those assets. So it took me a lot of time. It took me probably days to try all the apps that he mentioned, and I realized that some of them were really bad or really old, or they were difficult to install, difficult to use. Some of them would never even install. So I was trying Nuclei. I didn't know much about it. I was just trying it. And a friend of mine sent me a security file, and a security tech.txt file. It's a kind of a standard that a guy that I don't remember the name, it developed that a website should have this file, and in this file they should include emails that people that want to report a bug can send an email, or they could define if they have a program, if they have bounties, if they are going to pay people that find bugs or not, right? So some friend of mine sent me this security file of a Chilean company that said that they had a bug bounty program, and I looked and I searched a little bit, and they were in HackerOne before, so I thought I'm never gonna find any bug on this site. They already stayed some time in HackerOne, so what are the chances? So my idea was to test Nuclei. So I was using the scanner, which is basically you give it the URLs, and some results started to appear. And so it was by accident, because I didn't want to. I wasn't really looking for these bugs in this company. And one of the first result that I got is that they had they had a Google bucket that was open, that I could list the files, right? And after that, I took over the Google bucket, and the Google bucket had all the information of all the clients. So it was like 22,000 ID cards scanned by both sides, and a lot of financial information from clients. It was pretty bad. So they paid me for that bug around $5,000, which I couldn't believe it for. I couldn't believe it for around a week. And one of the things that I was worried about is if they were gonna pay it or not, because a lot of companies in Chile and in many countries, they don't know what bug bounty hunting is. So they, even if you hack them, or not hack them, but if you find a bug that is critical or that is really bad, they won't give you anything. They would just tell you thank you for your service. And so I actually found 3 bugs, and the bigger one, there was a P1. P1, I don't know if you know, but let me explain. There are basically 5 levels of severity on bugs. The scale goes from P5 to P1. P5, it's something that doesn't have an impact at all. It might be informative, or let's say, for example, the Apache version is displayed on the headers of the server, right? That's something that some people might think, well, it's but if I find the version and I find a CVE, I can hack your site. Well, that's great, but some companies, they will say it's a pretty low severity, so they will mark it as P5. So P5, usually they don't pay anything, and from to the top of that scale, it's P1. So in this company, I found a P1, a P2, and a P3. So one was $500, and the other one was $50. So the second bug was a subdomain takeover. If you don't know what a subdomain takeover, it's basically you create a subdomain, let's say in the case of my domain infosec.cl, you create a subdomain, let's say NoNameCon, and you point it to a GitHub repo or usually a S3 bucket or a Google bucket, and then you remove the bucket or the GitHub account, but you forgot to clean the DNS record, and now it's pointing to an account that doesn't exist. So the attacker, in my case, me, I created a GitHub account, and so now I had the subdomain was mine. So that was $500. So imagine how I felt at the time. I was like, this is something that this is my thing. This is something that I probably should do it. Imagine if in one day I got $5,500. Imagine if I do this for longer. Well, the thing is that by far is the highest bounty that I ever got. Yeah, so I decided to. So yeah, this is the website. I had to sign a NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so I cannot tell you what site it is. But they included me on their Hall of Fame, and if you see there, it was like one day after the other, because like I told you, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just getting these results from this tool, and I would just test them, and I'll Google, and I will search online how to exploit them. Because sometimes you find a bug, but you need to exploit it to do something with it. Yeah. For example, on Google and subdomain takeovers, some people find that the subdomain is vulnerable, but it's not possible to take it over, right? Let me show you something. Really quick. I actually did a subdomain takeover yesterday, and let me remember what it was. Here, somebody sent it to me. So really quick. Don't read that one. So if you see this domain, it doesn't have anything, but if it's because some companies ask you to not to modify anything, not to show anything. So if you see here, it says Delteil, which is my nickname, subdomain takeover. So this subdomain is controlled by me. So I could create a website with a fake company name, and people will log into it, and yeah. So this was an example that I actually did yesterday. I hope they will pay me. So like I was saying, everything started by accident. I wasn't planning into getting into book bounty. So why should, this is like a strict credential, so why should you believe me? So in what I've learned is that quantity it's not important the amount of bugs that you find. What is important is what you learn from those bugs. So there's a website that is called Open Book Bounty. Let me show it to you. I was testing it yesterday, and it's a site that you can report to any site. Like, you can report whatever you find. The thing is that it's pretty bad, the website. A lot of people started, a lot of book bounty hunters started using this site, like before HackerOne was popular or mainstream. So the thing is that you need to report quantities more than quality. So even though I reported more than 2,000 bugs, if you see here in my statistics. So in 1 month, I reported 1,400, more than 1,400. And actually some of them were, if you see here, VIP reports, means the websites that have a lot of traffic. And so far I haven't got anything at all, not even a thank you from the websites that they patched their issues. So the bad thing about this website is pretty weird because you can only report like five type of bugs, and yeah, so it's quantity over quality, and I wouldn't recommend you to use it. It's interesting that you can read like other, like you can read like disclosed bugs, so you can learn, but only five types of bugs. Okay, so yes, I was just mentioning that. So to be honest, I lost count of how many bugs that I found because, like I told you, some bugs will be paid in one platform, like Integrity, and the same bug for another company, they will not give you anything. So that's what I was saying. A lot of people are getting angry with HackerOne because they make it really hard for you to have proper bugs, like accepted bugs. And so in my example, I report some types of bugs in Integrity, and they get accepted or they get paid, and not a lot of money, but 300 euros, 500 euros. And the same bugs in other sites like BookCrowd or HackerOne, they just get rejected, uh, which is very strange, right? Because the bugs are bad. And so I will say that 95% of my bugs are coming from nuclei, but I will show you later why it's not that simple. So I'm in already in a lot of Hall of Fames, which is a demonstration of you working for free, especially companies like T-Mobile and Philips that they have a lot of money. Philips is one of the biggest companies in the world. And I discovered two bugs. One bug was pretty bad. They had, in many hospitals, they had installed imaging system, which is called a PACS, with default passwords. And I actually took over around I had access to around 1 million exams. So this was on the press in Chile because I could access exams from politicians, relatives of the president, party leaders, and Philip just told me thank you. We're gonna add you to the Hall of Fame, and from now on you're gonna be really important, and you're gonna have the best jobs because you are in our Hall of Fame. So that's a lesson that I learned. Hall of Fames are important only if you're like a beginner, if you're like first month. I don't think anyone's gonna hire you just because you're in a Hall of Fame. But companies will make you believe that this is very important, and this is like a game changer. It's gonna change your life. And to be honest, it's just proof that you work for free at some point of your life. So I have many Hall of Fames that I don't keep track of. And so why do they have Hall of Fame? It's just a way of paying you, right? They don't give you money. They don't give you anything else. They just put you on a website. Let me show you one. Let me show you this one. I don't know if I'm still here because I asked them to remove me because they were asking me to remove content, or yeah, I'm still there. They were asking me to remove content. They were telling me that I was his partner, that I needed to, work with them, but for free. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's not that funny when you need money, but so let's continue. So this is probably the most important lesson that I think I learned, or that I can give it to you, is that finding bugs is easy. Like on internet, you could literally find thousands of bugs in one day. You could use Shodan, you could use Google Dorking, you could use many tools, but I guarantee you that you're gonna find hundreds of bugs especially from government institution. I haven't checked Ukrainian governments, but you know, Ukraine is famous because of this hack of the electrical grid. So governments usually are the weakest points because they don't have people, they don't have budgets, or they just don't care about security. So the the difficult part is to get paid. The difficult part is to get something out of the bugs, right? So in my case, I wouldn't, if I divide all my bounties, all my income, all the income that I've done in 1 year, it will be a salary that it would be the fifth or probably a sixth part of what a salary here in Chile it's for somebody that study what I study or that have the experience that I have. So it's not enough to like having it as a full-time job. A lot of people that do it as a full-time job, they've been doing it for I would say 3 to 5, 7 years. And in Chile, the top hunters, they had much more experience than me. I only doing it for a year, and like I said, I've been working in cybersecurity for 3 years, so not a lot of time. So in Chile, thanks is the main currency. They will pay you with thanks, even though, like I told you before, even big companies do not know what bug bounty hunting is. So they will like not understand that you want to get paid for something that in a program will be a lot of money. So I've hacked many companies, and the only thing that I get is that they will make you believe that they can hire you as a company, because I have a company, right? I own a company. So they will make you believe that at some point they're gonna hire you for services. So they will like keep telling you that you're about to be done, you're about to be hired, the contract is being prepared. So that happened to me. Probably if at some point if your life you're facing this situation, if they don't hire you or they don't pay you like in the first week, it's not going to happen. So that's lesson learned. I don't waste my time anymore. So let me show you. Probably you're interested about real bugs, right? So let me show you this bug, and probably you could load it on your computers because here it doesn't look very well. So, okay, so if you look at my screen, let me increase the resolution a bit. So okay, let's start from the beginning. So on the left side, it's a website. It's a Chilean company. It's like I don't have a reference from Ukraine, but it's like UPS or FedEx in the US. They do transportation and okay, so yeah. And on the right side, here on the right side, it's Burp. I don't know if you know Burp, but Burp is probably the most used tool regarding cybersecurity or pen testing or bug bounty hunting. So on the left side, what I'm looking for here, it's an ID number here on the tab. I'm looking for an ID number of a company, a big company in Chile. It's a retail company. It's called Falabella. Because I wanted to test something that I found that it was really strange of this website. And in this website, I'm a client. So because I have a company, I own a company, I have an account of this website. So something that was really weird is that when I include the ID number of my company, the usernames will appear on this combo box here, right? So let's go. Let me show you. So I will use the ID number, like it's every company and every person have an ID number in Chile. So once I click that, you will see on the right side that a request was made. So basically with Barb, what you do is that you can intercept the request and responses from the website, get request and post request. In this case, was a post request. So if you see it here, so I use the client number, and the response, strangely, showed me 27 usernames, which is really strange, right? You should be asked for a username, like every 99% of the websites do that, right? So from there, I clicked on recover password. And once you receive the response of the recover password, if you see here on the right side, I already had what the response was the user name, full name, ID number, and password. So just like that, I now have the password of one of the users of this company, which is it's a big company. It's like present in 5 or 6 countries in South America. So I just could log in, just like that. I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna increase the speed of the video because from here it gets really slow, and it was because of I don't know if it was the website or it was the burp. But what I will do is just log in as the user, and since this portal is B2B, it's business to business, you can buy and pay later. Yeah, all right. So one of the things that you'll start learning is that you need to prove impact. You need to prove what's the worst thing that I could do with this bag. So I started to buy boxes. You know, they have boxes because of they do a lot of shipping. So a company will buy boxes to ship products. So I did it. I wanted to buy boxes for, I don't remember the amount, but it probably was like $20,000. Yeah, $20,000. So I could actually, I'm gonna fast forward a bit because in this part it was really slow. I don't know why. So yeah, so 17 million is pretty much like $30,000. So I didn't go to the end. I was just about to finish it, but I didn't because otherwise you might get in trouble legally. So yeah, so a lot of people get really impressed of how easy it was to find a bug. So one of the lessons that I learned, one of the things that I learned from this bug is that you should check for everything everywhere. It doesn't matter if the company is small, it's big, or they have. They said when I reported it, they said they had a red teaming for I don't know how long, that they didn't know, they couldn't imagine what happened. They were so strange. But in my experience, it's not that strange. A lot of companies have another companies that do pen testing, but they don't do book bounty hunting. And when you do pen testing, the company doesn't have an incentive to get every bug, you know, to test everything. And when you are from the book bounty hunting perspective, you want to get everything. It doesn't matter if it's small, if it's big. If you can find 3 that are small and 1 that is medium and 1 is big, this is great. And you're gonna keep looking after you won't find anything. When you're doing pen testing, some companies will find. Happened to me doing a pen test. I found a really bad bug, like a P1, and after that I just slowed the rhythm. You know, like you already proved big impact. Why are you gonna spend more time? And you don't have a lot of time. Why are you gonna spend more time finding bugs that are not as critical, right? So after that bug, I reported it, and for over a year, they told me that I will be hired as a contractor or as a company. And if you think about it, the bug was really bad. Actually, it's on my Medium. I had a Medium that I will post the thing. So I posted it. They never pay me anything. They didn't do anything. Just like make me believe that I will get something. So let me show you another one. So if you have any questions, please ask them. So this is a Philips. This is a Philips software. I don't know if you can see it. Let me increase the resolution to have a more clear image. So on the right side, This is actually the version of Carestream Health, and Carestream was bought by Philips like 2 years ago. I don't remember how long. So what I did is that data default passwords that you can easily find, and then you got admin access to thousands of exams. And actually, there are X-rays or another kind of images. So those bugs, they were very easy to find. They were critical, but I never get paid anything out of them. Well, actually, this company, it's not fair to say. They actually give me this thank you letter. Oh wait, I did something. They actually sent me, like, I don't remember when, but like February of this year, they sent me this letter to thank me for worrying about security of their company. And what I did is that I actually had access to over 80,000 exams. And after nothing had really happened, this company and another one that had the same problem. Another companies are clinics. So I did a research, like I leaked this data, not really leaked, but I contacted some journalists because I thought that people should know that their exams were like vulnerable, they were exposed. One of the companies took over 3 weeks to fix it. So yeah, so it's difficult to get money. So very interesting, but a lot of people are asking, how can I become a millionaire and fast? How can I, like, what can I do that will lead me to be on top of the hunters, or how can I get cash fast? So first we need to understand, and I hate definitions, but it's ironic because I hate definitions, but at the same time I always put them because I hate them, and I hate them because they're in the computer field and in the technological field, definitions usually mutate. They have a meaning at some point, and after some point they changed. So if you think about the word bug, we use bug when actually are security bugs. And security bugs are bad because they introduce security vulnerabilities. And vulnerabilities are weaknesses that can be exploited by the threat actor or by a threat actor. These are the definitions, but even though you sometimes find valid bugs, companies will tell you that they're not valid bugs. This is why I use the definitions, because at some point when you start working on the field, you ended up changing your meaning of bugs. So at some point when you're like doing bug bounty hunting, you start thinking about bugs with impact, right? Bugs that will give you something, and some companies even they give you points for P2, P3, P4, and P5 bugs, and they will pay you for a P1. So you say, why? Why? I mean, why the P2 and P1? What's the difference? Why are you paying? And at some point, some companies, they just like arbitrary. They do an arbitrary assumption that they manage their risk. You know, like, okay, if I have this kind of badge, I have enough insurance, or I have enough measures that nothing else will happen. So when we talk about bugs, we're talking about security bugs, right? Because there are different types of bugs. So what is really bug bounty hunting? And bug bounty hunting can be described as finding bugs in internet, like I was doing with Open Bug Bounty. I was trying to find bugs everywhere. Why? Because you learn that way. You learn what kind of bugs find how do they work, why why they exist, and how to exploit them, right? But then you start realizing that there are private programs that might pay you, and you will also find public programs. So what's the difference? The difference is that public programs, they of course have more people looking at them, like, and if again in private programs, sometimes you need to get an invitation, or sometimes they have a secret email that you need to send them, like security@company.com, and they will tell you the detail of the program. So a program is basically what a definition of a company regarding their book bounty program. They will say the scope. I'm going to talk about scope later. So, and there are also book bounty hunting sites. There are basically the Open Book Bounty, like I told you before, HackerOne, which is not recommended for people getting into the field because they're really hard. It took me 6 months to get my first bug accepted in HackerOne. Was in February this year. It took me 5 to 6 months to get an accepted bug in HackerOne. BookCrowd is the middle ground, but now they're not giving. So a lot of programs that will give you points, and the more points you have, the more private invitations you get. You know, like to private secret programs, right? But BookCrowd changed that. They don't give you points anymore. So I stopped hunting for programs with points only. And Integrity is the one that we're gonna use today, and it's the best, in my opinion. They really do not bullshit you. Sorry for the word, but they do not. They just pay you right away. If you find a bug, the bug is the bug. That's it. You get the points, or you get paid, and no more drama. And in BookCrowd and HackerOne, man, I've found so many bugs that were just like, no because of this, no because of that, no accepted because whatever reason. I was talking with a guy yesterday because he's suing HackerOne because he discovered that many companies were rejecting their bugs, but they were fixing them, and they were using the information he provided to like the developing process. So this guy discovered that Opera and Verizon had been like rejecting their bugs, but they were using them to fix the tools or the software, which is pretty bad. So he got banned, but we were talking about it last night when I was preparing this workshop, and I actually discovered that I had like 25 or 30 that there were proper bugs that were just discarded by, I don't know, like not applicable or informational. And yeah, so probably at some point I'm gonna put them on. If I publish them, I might get banned. So another sites that are smaller that you might have better luck. One is called Yes We Hack, and the other ones are, I don't remember the name, but if you Google them. So I will suggest you like starting from Integrity. And so one of the weird things that I discovered is that sometimes you will Google for a book bounty for a program on a company, and they will have a report email like report@company.com, and automatically you will get an invitation to HackerOne or BookCrowd. And it was like, but why it's not public? I mean, I just need to send an email. So yeah, I was talking about public, and it's a slide I'm talking about private. So like I told you before, in HackerOne and BookCrowd, one in utility as well. They wanna have hackers with more experience, because hackers with less experience will report things that are not worthy. They will report, I don't know, the output of Nmap with ports, right? Which is one of the worst things that you can do. Yeah, so I don't know how better is to have private. In my case, the way that I work, because in HackerOne I have like 120, and some of them are just like pretty small programs. Like they have 2 assets, they have 1 domain, there are 2 domains, or they have a lot of rules. They have that you have to connect with a VPN and with some credentials, and it's complicated. You know, I do more spray and pray. I just like hit thousands of URLs, and a lot of people say, oh, but that doesn't work. I've been doing it for 9 months, and so far I've never run the scan without finding a valid bug that I could report. And this is also an important part. Well, you could find what is easier to find bugs are programs that are self-hosted. That, for example, they have your Facebook. They have their own program. They have their own thing. Google as well. They don't use HackerOne or Bootcrowd. But the smaller companies do the same, and it's better for from the hunter's perspective, because they have less rules. You know, in some programs on HackerOne, they will have. Let me show you. Let me show you better. Let me show you better what I mean by that. So, for example, I hope I'm not showing anything private. It's a bit slow. So, what I think what I'm talking about is that, for example, this program, KeyBank, they will have a set of rules. So they will have, for example, they will have bugs, vulnerabilities that you cannot report, that they don't care about. They don't care that you could use username harvesting or information disclosure through errors, or even self-XSS. Some companies will even include here things that are like pretty bad, like cross-site scripting or open redirects or things like that. So the good thing about self-hosted programs is that they don't have rules. They don't have rules, and in that sense, it's easier to report. You have more chances of filling a valid report. And finally, a lot of programs do not have a lot of companies do not have a program, but they will agree that it's bad, and they will give you things like Amazon gift cards or swag, or I've gotten paid. I've got bounties from companies that don't have a program, but you just reach to them. You know, you send them an email. I found this bug. What do you think about it? And yeah, if you're lucky, you're gonna get paid. So what do programs usually define? They will define what's in scope. They will say how many domains or subdomains they want you to attack. But some sites, some companies will say, we will check for things that are out of scope. And in my case, I've been paid several bugs that they were out of scope, but they were bad enough to be fixed. So sometimes you need to read you need to read the descriptions of the programs, what you can do, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time to do it, actually. So the programs will define what kind of things they will give to you: swag, points, services, pay you. So American Airlines, for example, they will give you miles. And sometimes it's funny because sometimes, you know, they will put things out of scope that if you scan them, you will know why they're out of scope. They're like full of bugs or they don't work properly. So the important part, the most important part of this world, I will say, it's people will fight, not fight, but people will say that automatic scanning it's better. People will say that manual hunting is better. But I will tell you that you can mix both of them. You can actually start doing something manual and then automate it. And with nuclei, that's very simple, and I will show you why or how. If you use automatic scanners with the default configuration, probably you won't find you're gonna get a lot of duplicated, right? High chance of duplicated. So duplicated is when somebody reports a bug, and then somebody else reports the same bug. You'll be marked as duplicated. In some sites, you will get points anyway. Well, if you use an automatic scanner, you need to be fast. You need to like scan a lot and report fast. And so you do that, automating your steps. In manual hunting, well, a lot of people do use burp as a like manual testing. So you could, and in burp you can use a lot of extensions to improve your chances of finding a bug. And manual hunting is like what I showed you before on these videos. It's like, well, let's test functionalities, let's do it, let's check what happens. And in these cases, manual hunting takes longer, it's more tiring, but you get less chances of getting a duplicated, right? So I don't know if you have any questions so far. I don't know if you're there, if you're alive. Let me, yeah, Anton said something, we should connect the VM via SSH. Yes, we should connect via, I will show you later how to do it. I think, yeah, it's because of the interface, the graphic interface makes a lot of problems with different configurations. So with compacts, I don't know what she's referring to. Nova Posha, what is that? They changed the default accounts? What accounts? What are we talking about? Ah, the ones from the clinics? Or which ones? I don't know what you're asking me about. Okay. Yes. Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, the thing is that since it's a system that is used in many hospitals in the world, I found 20 or 25, and they were using different mix of default passwords, but I already reported them. So if the company doesn't make anything, what can I do? It's not easy. One of the things that I learned is not easy to report. Some companies will not have an email, or they will not reply an email. I just hacked recently a big company called Liberty Mutual, and so far I haven't found a way to send the reports. And it's one of the biggest companies in the US. and yeah, it's reporting is difficult, it's stressful, it's tiring, because sometimes you are not gonna get anything in return. You might get into trouble, like in my case. I am officially banned of working in the government. It's been 2 times that I'm actually, yesterday I was about to start being a consultant on the Ministry of Transportation, because of they're building the new license card. It's digital. And I had interviews with them for 3 months. And I worked with them for a while. They were sure they was gonna get hired. I talked to the manager of the manager. They were very happy to have me, because of people. I told them about DEFCON. They're just like, wow, that's amazing. Well, you went to China, blah, blah, blah. And the final moment, the final day, they told me that from some government part, they rejected my hiring. It's the second time that happens. So that's one of the risks that people in some countries they don't understand, that you do things because you want things to get improved. And in some countries they don't understand cybersecurity, so they will think that hackers are criminals. They will think that if you hack a site or you prove that you could hack it, you are as criminal as somebody that installed a ransomware in a hospital. They don't understand the differences. They don't understand ethical hacking. So in my case, what I showed you before, that I leaked something to the press, it was because during 1 year they didn't fix a problem with the network that allowed anyone inside a network, a huge network, like a national-wide network with 150,000 devices. Anyone inside this network could find patient records of millions of people. Actually, I found 4 million documents. I would scan the network and I found this. Over in a year, nobody paid attention. Nobody did anything. Just laugh at me, like one of the strangest things is that sometimes people do not understand the bugs. Even in HackerOne or BookCrowd, they don't really understand. I mean, not everybody, but it happened to me a few cases that the triager didn't understand what I was doing. But in companies, even in big companies in Chile or in the US or in other countries, they don't really understand the bug because they don't know what could happen. So the challenge for us, for you as a researcher or a hunter or a hacker, is to show them, to educate them why that bug is bad. Even though you can show them, some companies or some people wouldn't understand it until they get really hacked by another, like a threat actor, until they lose information. It's like very similar to what happened with people that you tell them, back up your computer, back up your data, back up your cell phone, back up your stuff. You might lose them, you might get stolen, you might get damaged, whatever. But they don't do anything until it happens. And when it happens, it's too late. And even some companies will repeat it. There are many histories about companies that got hacked many times, like Equifax, or I don't remember now, but in many cases the company got hacked many times. So let me some tips fast. So what I've learned is that you actually have some processes that you need to have in place for your bug bounty hunting process. So the first step is the recon part. Like I told you, you need to gather information about your target. So one of the simplest things to do is to find subdomains. Let's say AT&T.com. You need to find subdomains of that company. Let me show you how it looks like. Let me use my data. I will show you here my data. So if I want to check domains from AT&T, I will just do that. It's a little big. So I'm running BBRF, and I'm asking it to show me all of the domains of this program. So now I'm using a command to count them, and this is just a debugger from the tool. I will show you later. So I have 136,000 domains. So yeah, just something to show you, but we will do that part in detail later. So don't worry if you didn't understand what I did. So the things that you need are domains, subdomains, and URLs, and IP addresses that you can scan them, you can find vulnerabilities. The easiest way to use them are, and then with that information, you can use automated tools. There are many tools that do. One of the problems is that there's so many tools that some tools are good, some tools are really good, some tools are really bad, some tools do the same things as other tools, or some tools will have many tools included inside them. So what I will tell you is that the tools that I use, I really love them. And I will tell you why. So the other thing that you want manual hunting is you usually will use a browser and Barb, and you will start using the website, and Barb will tell you what bug is probably found. So my favorite tools and the tools I'm gonna use today. So BBRF, it's used to storing programs, basically. And Nuclei is a vulnerability scanner that is great because you could create your own templates or you could modify somebody else's templates. And it's community supported, so a lot of people contribute. Actually, top 13 actually got invited yesterday to be part of that community. I don't understand really well what it is, but it's something like being part of the supporters of the tool. And Nuclei is part of a bigger project that is called Project Discovery. And so far, I really love this tool. I've been using it for a year. It has changed a lot. It has improved a lot. And every week there are new templates, or templates are basically things. I mean, they're basically descriptions of a bug or ways to find a bug that are like updated or increased rapidly. Like sometimes some weeks you have 200, and I can give you a more insight later. I recently found several P1s, several critical bugs just with a template that I modified in Nuclei. And Dalfox, I don't use it anymore that much. Is to find cross-site scriptings. And the one that really changed my game is Axiom, because you could distribute your scans on several machines, right? And Book Suite Pro, I'm not gonna talk about Book Suite Pro. It's very easy to learn. You could find many tutorials on YouTube. You could find many books and ways to use it. But you wouldn't find a lot of things about using Axiom or Nuclei. Okay, so a lot of people ask me what skills do I need to be a book bounty hunter or to work in security? And in my opinion, knowing about Linux commands or Linux in general, it's something that in my case helped me a lot, because I developed in Bash scripting, and I could create a software program to discover a bug or to automate tasks very easily in my case. But having said that, the top one book bounty hunter that is called, his nickname is Today's New. He is a Windows user. He used Windows Server to the scanning process, and he develops using Visual Basic, I guess, which is amazing for me to hear that. Most of the tools now most of the tools that you can find on GitHub are made in Bash scripting or Bash shell or whatever you want to call it, Python and Go. So if you know one of these three languages, I don't know Go, I haven't programmed. Well, once you program in many languages, the other learning a new language is not that difficult. But I don't usually work with Go. I do Bash and Python. I have some tools on my repo. So you need a lot of patience to book bounty hunting, because sometimes you want to find anything, and sometimes you will only get rejected or not accepted. And you need to be persistent. You need to have persistence, because there's a huge learning curve. You need to learn a lot of things that are not available in the books. There, you probably, even if you study computer science degree and a master's degree in cybersecurity, the technical part, it's completely different. It evolves very, very rapidly. For example, even in HackerOne, years ago, you could report very different bugs from now. You could report like very simple stuff, and now they just get that. not accepted right away. So you need to have some persistence. And if you see this as a passion, in my case, it's a passion because I can do it for 18 hours straight. And it will help you out. If you have all these skills, they're not really all of them skills, but you will at some point be successful. At some point, might be 2 years, might be 6 months, maybe if you are a genius. I actually worked with a friend, with a guy from Colombia. He's 19 years old, and he already got 2 bounties and AT&T, and probably in 1 year it's gonna be a super hacker, right? And you need time. The things that I have is time because since I have a company, I have a client, so I don't need to work. I don't need to work every day, so that helped me a lot having time. And now that we cover that part, let me go to the. If you have any questions, okay, no questions. So this part, let me close some things. My things opened. Okay, so Twitter gone. So, okay. Let me tell you something. I thought BBRF was easy to explain, but during the DEF CON workshop, a lot of people struggled with it. They couldn't really understand why or how to use it. And let me tell you that it's not difficult. It might be strange to use, but have some patience. It's a tool that helped me, or if you're a hunter, it will help you to store your information in a sustainable way. Why do I say sustainable way? Because if you don't use something to store your data in a sustainable way, what will happen is that you will have something like this. You will end up having files of, let me go to the other machine better. This will give you an example of how my life was before. So when you ended up having URLs of URLs of URLs of URLs and stored in files and stored in different names and folders, and at some point you lost track of it. For example, look at that. You ended up mixing things. You ended up having from different sites. So you get the idea, right? You ended up storing things in different servers. You don't. Wait. So what BBRF does is that it allows you to store data using a CouchDB database, which is a documental database. It's not a relational database. So even if you have many documents, in my case, I have, I think, around 12 million documents. Documents are domains, URLs, and other things. And one of the coolest things about it is that you can define the in scope and the out scope. And when you add the domains, it will automatically filter out the things that are not scope, which is something very useful when you have an automated process. Yeah, add to domains and URL according to scopes. And one of the other cool things is that you can pipe them to do a lot of things. For example, like I told you before, you could do, and in this case, I'm just counting them. I don't know if you see my screen properly, if you decide it's good, but once you have BBRF, you can do automated things. For example, well, I will show you later that part. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's go to the lab. Now we're starting the lab. We only spent 1.5 hours. Let me get rid of some things from here. That one. That one. That one also. This also because I wanted it. Okay, so I want to know if you all have the lab working. So we're gonna spend some time fixing that if you don't have it working properly. So at this point, all of you should have access to this VM that what you should see is something like, if you run this command, you're gonna see that already loaded. One of the things that we should do is, wait, let me check. Okay. I just want to get rid of the debug mode. Just don't remember the command. Okay. It's debug mode and use false. Otherwise, we're gonna see. Okay. So I don't know if you are following me. So at this point of the workshop, I will, if each of you to tell me that you are with the VM working, and then you have access to your VM using SSH. I don't know if you can hear me, but say something if you can hear me. Are we on Discord? Do we have a Discord? So, are you there, guys? Okay, so, yeah, so, thank you, Anna. So okay, so if you don't have the VM working or you couldn't connect to it, now is the time to ask me how to do it. Otherwise, you're gonna miss all the exercise that we're gonna do. Okay, so let me go to the lab. Okay, so okay. So one of the things that I will show you now, let me probably use two screens. How did I do it? Here, there. And here I will use the VM. Right, so the first exercise is just adding a program to BBRF, and let me show you how to do it. So let's say I created my account on Integrity and I wanna follow Philippe's instructions, how to store your data, and so then I will go to this website where I can see the program that is called Intergamma. So every exercise is based on the previous one. So yeah, you should pay attention. So this is a program description. They will tell you here, they will describe here how much are they paying for every type of bug, the tiers. So we need to, the things that we need to focus on. So the exercise says, instructions, add the program using the tags URL, site, and reward. So you might wonder, why should I use a tag, or how do I use a tag? And I will explain it right away. So the basic command to add the program, it's let me go to the exercise. Okay, just I have a little confusion because in my case, I use a script that does everything for me. But on the exercise, so we have this this script that will do all the steps simplified, but I will show you the other way. So in there's this URL here where you have the answers to all the exercises. So this is the part that people had more difficult, found more difficulty, more difficult, yes. So in order to create a program, we just use this command. Let me remove that part there. So in order to create a program, we just copy that command. Wait. Doesn't allow me. Okay, I just created a BVRF program. So let me. Didn't work. So if I want to create a program called intergamma, I just set the name intergamma. Yeah. So yeah, wait. Yeah, that's the reason. So I'm going to create, let me increase the size. I don't know if you can see it properly. Okay, yeah. So I will create the program called intergamma, and I will use a tag. And why do I need a tag? Because one of the things that I need to store is the URL of the program. Why? Because if I want to report a bug, I will need to get to this page, to this site again. And if you had hundreds of, or in my case, I have almost 1,000 programs. You cannot keep track of all of them. You will end up wasting time figuring out from which program your domain or the URL that you found a bug comes from. So I will store the URL, and then I will add which site it is from. In this case, probably site is confusing. Before I use platform, but I use site. And then what type of reward they have, because that way you could look for programs that paid and only focus on those programs. So in this case, I created a program called intergamma. So if I want to show the details of these programs, I just do bvref show, and it will show me the intergamma, and then I just use this command, and it will show me the type. I mean, if the scope in scope is empty, but during the tags I have the URL, so I can easily go back to what I was before, and the site and the reward. And one of the cool things about BVRF is that you could search for programs that have a value on their tags. For example, in this case, let's say where reward is money, like a query, right? So I will display, didn't show the other one because it doesn't have any scope. So I will need to use show empty. This is something that you shouldn't pay attention to, but then you have all the programs. So it's pretty cool that you could only find, for example, programs that are on sites integrity. And if I do HackerOne, because I will have a few programs, but if I run the same example on my BVRF, on my official BVRF, you will see what happens. You will see what happens here. For example, in here, I will just run here the website. If I run it here, hacker one website is why it doesn't work? Because I use H1, no hacker one. So then you see I have 466 programs, and if I count integrity 100 programs, and if I just count the ones that are paying where reward is money, 600. So that's why it's useful. In my case, I will use a lot I use some scripts to simplify some things, but it's basically this support. So let's go to the lab, so I already showed you how to create the program, and now we need to add the in scope. And adding the in scope is not difficult. We just need to use BVRF in scope add, and then we can include all the definitions from the program. I don't know if you follow me. If you have any questions, just write on the chat. I will check the chat. Okay, so okay. It's just that sometimes I have too many tabs open for weeks, and then if I close them, I forget about them forever. So let's check out this program. So one of the things that is a lot of work, it's getting the information from the program. So you will get, this is one of the in scope, right? And in this case, it says the out scope is this domain, but we need to add it later. And we will also add that domain, also this domain. So there's no way to do it automatically. One of the problems with the programs in different sites is they will have different ways of writing. For example, check at this case, they're using slash, which is redundant because it's already implied that everything under that domain will be included. So that subdomain also, and some people made a mistake on the so this also. Some people didn't go to the end of this program when we did the workshop at DEF CON, so some of the exercise didn't work because they didn't fill everything. So yes, and let's add this one. That's just a site. It's just a domain. But so two separated. You see, this is difficult because they included an and I cannot see. Well, it's because my screen is smaller, but let's skip that for now. So if you notice, I added subdomains with wildcards and a domain itself without wildcards, and they all work perfectly with BVRF. So we'll add the scope. Let's check if it's added, if it was added. So let's show Intergamma again. And as you see now, here, we got the in scope. So the other step that we need to do is to add the out scope. So the domains that we wouldn't want URLs to be stored. So if you see here in my screen, they have described the out scope. So we would just do the same, just using out scope add, and we will. This process it took me to fill all the programs. Let me show you all my programs on a pretty interface that is also from BBRF. I didn't develop this. This is included. It's a client. It's a web client. I don't use it that much. But if you see, I have 921 programs. And imagine how long did it take me to fill them all. It took me actually like 9 months. At some point, I deleted accidentally the database. I didn't have backups. So it took me more months. So I will add the out scope one by one. And last one, this is the last one. Okay. So let's check. Okay, now we have the out scope, we have the in scope. Everything looks good. So let's go back to the lab, and we need to list the in scope. And listing the scope is, we already did it with this command, but there's also another way. And that's the one. BVRF scope in. I use a lot of these commands, but on scripts that automate things that I will show you later. And finally, the task is to show the scope out. So following the same logic, we just BVRF scope out. So we have the scope, the description of the scope out. So we already, this was the first exercise. And if you notice on the lab, on my repo, I have a script. I have many scripts, but the one that I want to show you is that in my case, I automated the process of adding a program, and I will use add programs, the site, me, because I work with another person, so we need to know who added what. And it will ask me for the program name, say testing, what kind of reward, and I will say money is default, the URL, that's testing.com, program, right? And I will use recon. That it means that if I could spend more time doing recon on that program, usually when they have a lot of wildcards, in this case let's call it false. Does it have an Android app? No. Now source code, because the programs that have source code that you need to. So in scope, let's say I will use testing. I don't know if it's a valid, or let's use example.com, right? So I will not include any out scope, but what it does is that the script automatically finds for subdomains and URLs. So it's gonna take a while. Probably I can go by later to check it. It's on my GitHub repo. There are the instructions of install it. What you need to, well, you can install it on your own if you want later. So let's go back to the. So this was the exercise number 1, which is just a preparation for the next exercises. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I will give you let me close my let me give you 3 minutes. Can I get some water? And I will give you 3 minutes for you to test it and to see if it's working properly, if you have the scope, out scope, and I'll be back in 3 minutes. Hello. Yes, that problem. It happens when you add character that it happens. It's a bug that has VBRF that happens when you add a space between the if you can you hear me right? If when you had a space between the definitions. So I suggest you to do it to first. If you want to get rid of the debug mode, just do debug mode false. This is a script that I built because it was so annoying. You needed to change this file every time. If you see here, it says debug false. So I did a. So the owner of this tool is not very, how to say it? It doesn't allow a lot of people to contribute. So I started developing my own scripts on top of VBRF. So could you solve it? Anna? So I would say, yeah, that's one of the bugs of these tools. And just as a warning, I might be in quarantine because I traveled to the US, and in Chile we have a pretty strict period of 10 days that I have to be in my place without being anywhere else. So at some point they might knock at my door and I might leave for a couple of minutes this Zoom meeting. It's just gonna take me 2 minutes. They ask me for my ID and they ask me for symptoms. Server error conflict. Okay. Server error. Because you already have a program called that way. So if you want to do it again, just remove it. So VBRF RM and intergamma in this case. Well, you understand me then. They have come every day to check for my ID and if I have symptoms. I don't know what time they come, so until Sunday. Sunday I will be free because we don't have Delta. We don't have the Delta variant here yet, so it's pretty hard to travel. In my case, I was lucky because I live nearby or a few hours from the airport. Or other people might need to stay in a hotel, paying $200 per day. Yeah, so going to the US was really strange. DEF CON worked pretty well. It was like 10,000 people and only a few cases were reported. But it was pretty strict. You need to use your mask. I don't know how it is in Ukraine, but in Chile, it's like nobody goes out without a mask anywhere. Not from the beginning of the pandemic. Still conflict error. Okay, so show me the output again. Show me your command. Show me the command that you're running. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's because you're. Okay, it's because it's because you're creating the program called program, and probably in. Oh, well, let me show you. You already have the program called program, so you need to change the word program for intergamma. So what happens in your case is that you already have the programs. So if you do this, show empty. There are some parameters that I don't like about this tool, but it's the only tool that does this, so it doesn't matter. It's okay. You work it out? Ah, okay. Yeah, so if you want to list all your programs, you need to use BBRF programs / show empty scope, right? So in your case, if you wanted, you were trying to create a new program with the same name. So as you see, the tool the error message is not very detailed, because it will tell you program intergamma already on the database, right? So yeah, anybody else? Show programs. Okay, okay. So you need to create a program called intergamma, because we're gonna use it later. So it should be called intergamma. That way, it's gonna be easier for us to accomplish the workshop. So this was the most difficult part, probably at the beginning of the workshop, and a lot of people left. Not a lot, but some people left because it was too difficult, I think. I've been using this tool for a year, so in my case, a lot of things seem easy, but are not. But it's the only tool that does that type of stuff. And let me show you, for example, what I did on my. So let me display the. Okay. So for example, if I want to look for this domain, wait, show intergamma. Let's say I want to look for this domain on my entire repo, on my entire database. So I have a let me, I don't want to remove that. Maximize terminal. So going back to what I did before, just before I show you the other part. With this script, it runs subfinder. So he found several subdomains, and he actually found several URLs. So if I cancel this script, and now I do BBRF show in the program that I created that is testing, it will display the in scope, but it wouldn't. So yeah, so we'll show the URLs, and I will show the domains. So it's very easy, very fast. So what I was going to show you before, it was if I want to search for that domain, I have another script that does this easier. That is find program, and I have problems with the clipboard. Find program, and then the domain, and it will show me the site, the name, this money, and the URL, and I go directly to the URL. Okay, so let me go back to the chat. Oh yeah, see, yes, there are some worst errors that do not have any description. For example, when you remove a program, I don't remove my sheet. When you remove a program, it doesn't say that it was removed. So for example, if I do that, it wouldn't say anything, even though the program doesn't exist, you know? So it's annoying, but it's the best tool that's available, and I still use it despite all that things that are annoying. And if you ask me what's the biggest advantage, is that I can run scans on all my URLs in one command. I could, and I will show you that later. So I want to know if you are all ready with this exercise. I don't know if you are following. I would like more feedback. It's difficult to do a workshop online because I cannot see your screens. A lot of people, when they're confusing on the last workshops, I would just get to the screens and I would see right away if they were doing what they were supposed to do or they were just lost. So I added here a proposed exercise just for you to understand a bit more the tags. And I have actually, if you want to install it, I mean, look, this tool was probably the hardest to install in my life, probably. It took me, because some tools are very immature, are very new, and some hackers or some computer people do not like to document things. So it took me actually 2 days to install it. I had facing many errors, all type of errors that you can imagine. Actually, it's difficult to install CouchDB with SSL install. I couldn't find documentation. I couldn't find, and I wrote an article that will give you a step-by-step process how to do it. And it's not difficult, but the errors were really annoying. And yeah, so because I installed my own CouchDB, but I wanted to use SSL, right? Because the information that I'm gathering, if I use only HTTP, it might get intercepted somewhere at some point. And that data at the end, it's worth money because it's months of work. And some programs have rules about not disclosing their domains. So it might ban me from one of those programs or from the sites. Okay, so I'm gonna check how you are doing. Well, the last BBF is not that buggy now because it's been a year of development. It will be much better if the owner allowed more participation, but if it doesn't have any, like, I actually opened several, like I was really annoying. I was opening issues all the time. No, wait, it's not action, it's BBF. I was actually opening issues all the time. And I think most of my, 27, and he stopped working on the tool. And I've stopped actually feeling issues because he's only one developer, it's not possible. And if you compare with Nuclei, Nuclei has, I don't know how many developers, like 43 contributors. They do they do releases constantly. They have 1,600 commits, and they are like pretty much every day. And yes, so it's a quite different. A lot of forks, 5,000 stars. Yeah. So, but so far I haven't found anything similar, and I'm very lazy developing my own. It actually took him a year and a half to develop it. There's some interviews of Honoki. He's a nice guy, Honoki. It's actually one of the top bug bounty hunters, and he took a lot of time to. He's one of the one of the most useful tools in my case. So are you ready for next one? Yes. At least we found some bugs. Punk bounty hunter. Yeah. Yeah. Not that type of bugs. But I actually do the same joke when I find bugs on the tools. I will ask for where is my bounty, and they will always give me the same answer, which is a bounty candy, something like that. Yeah. They will show me that chocolate. They will send me that. Here's your bounty. Yeah. Yes, regular updates on my tools that are pretty new and small and simple. I try to do actually this repo has gained a lot of attention lately because I have templates for all the bugs that I have reported. They're like 150. Like you find the bug, but you need to report it. How do you do it? Here you have the template. You just fill the values, and that's it. I try to update regularly, like 52 already, but I try to do it like one every day because there are too many. And I have a an API client that I could do automated. I can automate the reports, send the reports just with a command line in HackerOne. The API is really bad. It took me a long time, not a long time, but it took me a lot of effort because they don't have, this is Bash. If you haven't ever Bash scripting, that's Bash scripting. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the second exercise. But I don't know if you all are on board. Most of you left the slides. I don't know if you're still alive, still paying attention, or it's just Anna. Let's go to the exercise number 2. Let me exercise. Okay, that's exercise number 2. So exercise number 2, it's a bit more difficult, but it's about reckon. It's about using 2 tools. One is Subfinder and Asset Finder. They do the same. They will give you subdomains of a domain. For example, Subfinder, and I don't know any website from Ukraine, but let's say I want a newspaper from Chile. It's with a D. So it will output all the subdomains using different tools. There, your Subfinder is not. And the most important, if you read here, the amount of results using Subfinder depends on the amount of API keys so you configure it. Yeah, so you need to take some time to use, because let me show you what it is. Subfinder. No, wait. Okay. Finder. So in my case, I have wait, great, just some, yeah, I think it's that one. No, I don't know. Okay. I'm looking for the config file. Let's see, Finder. No, I can remember. Application. Well, I don't remember, but there's a config file when you add all the APIs, and it's a long list, and you need to create accounts for. Well, let me show it to you. So Finder. Okay. So you need to configure it to command where I can find it. So this tool uses, okay, yeah. The following services, you need to get an IP key from all these services. So the more services you have, the more results you will get. So I've tested it, and sometimes it's 50%. So is the config file? Okay, it's config.yum. So it. Yeah, so that's the file. Those are my keys. Don't see them, but they have many sources. So and you need to configure your resolvers. But the main idea is that you will get, as you see on my screen, you will get a lot of subdomains, and if you run this for every domain on your database, you will end up having a lot of data that you can use for testing, for scanning vulnerabilities, which is what I do. I do it with Axiom. I will show you later. So the exercise number 2 is to use Finder to find domains and add them to be very active. Because the problem that we have now, what is our problem is that we don't have any URLs. So if we want to show our domains, if we're gonna show domains for our program, we don't have any. So what do we do? What do we do now? So let me show you how to do it in an easy way. So let me go to the answer sheet because it's already the commands there. So with this command, you will get. Oh, sorry. You always have this same to me when I'm doing the file. So if I run this command, I will get the scope in of what happened with the server. Okay, so there's something with the wheel card. Wheel card scope. Scope. Here. Okay, it's without. Let me do it right away. It's without the slash. Okay, so. Okay, so when I run this command, if you notice, I get some of the subdomains with this symbol, right? And that symbol wouldn't work with Subfinder. Well, actually, you can see it. And if you all know piping, you know what piping does? Piping is when you send the result from one command to the input of another. The output of one command to the input of another. So in this case, I'm sending the output of this command to the input of Subfinder. I don't know why it's taking that long. Maybe the VM is not properly adjusted. Yeah, it's couch. Oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, let me try again. If you run it on, probably will recommend you to increase the size of your VM. I think I might need more memory and definitely more CPUs. Let me restart it, otherwise it's gonna take forever. Let me restart it, and I'll need more processors, and I need more RAM. And do it running. And cancel. Turn it off. This suspended it, but I wanted to kill it. So I will configure it. Oh, mistake. One second. Okay, so yes. It doesn't allow me to change it because it's running set. How do I run? Okay, and then power off guest shut down. Just 1 second. Just get it. Doesn't die. Okay, it's dead now. Okay, so I'm just turn it off and turn it on again. Have a lot of RAM, so let's use it. Let's do 4 CPUs. Let's power it on. Okay, much faster now. BVRF, it's a bit CPU intensive when you add a lot of data. Good. Into there. So I'm going to plug into it. Shift P. Here. 17, 16. 260. Okay, I'm back. Let's see if it works better now. 4 times more CPUs. So if I run this command, like I said before, it will remove the symbol, right? And if I then write some finder, it will get the subdomains of every domain. Yeah, it's quite faster now. So just give it some time. Okay, now you get the idea. So what I need to do is when you add this command at the end, you will add every subdomain to your BBRF. So every output that we got here will be stored in our program. So just give it a little time. I will check here if you have any questions. Yeah, so it's better than some lister at scope didn't work out. Which command didn't work out? Can you what happened? What's your output? Show me your output. So I don't know if it's better than sublister. I don't know which one are you talking about. It's this one, sublister. There are many tools that they have, like they do similar things, and when I compare them, pretty much uses the same sources. And probably you could use both. Probably you could use more than one. But at some point, you start realizing that they use the same sources. For example, if you read here, it says Google, Yahoo, Bing, Baidu, Ask, Netcraft, Installer, ThruCrowd, DNS Buster, Reverse DNS. Probably I could include it. One of the good things about BBRF is that including another tool to get more subdomains, it's simple. It's just adding one line of code to my script. And yeah, this tool looks pretty nice. Well, the last release was like a year ago, so yeah, probably it's not. Yeah, it's not updated. I wouldn't use it. Probably that's what I know. I don't use it. You know, they don't have too many issues opened. Last commit was more than a year ago, so no. Most of the tools are something that happens a lot is that some tools get abandoned, and in this case, the release was a few months ago, well, 6 months ago, or 4 months ago. And if you see, they have a lot of closed versus open, and some of them are not bugs or are enhancements. So yeah, I will trust more SurfFinder, and SurfFinder is from Project Discovery. So like Project Discovery, they have a lot of people working on it, like paid. So it's completely different. So all of the tools for project discovery are pretty cool, are pretty amazing. Nuclei, so nuclei has nuclei and the templates. So the templates, this is the client or the software, and this is the templates that would that you how to explain it. So this software uses the templates, and they're separated because they got too big. The templates are I don't remember how much, but almost 2,000. Some of them are critical CVEs, and I will tell you later how did I found some CPs. And actually, this other tool. Look, I use three from these projects. I them, but this one. I use nuclear templates, of course. I use Sofander. HTTPX is to obtain HTTP valid. It's to prove the domains to see which one of the domains has HTTP server. And the DNSX is to actually see which domain is resolving to an IP. So that way you can clean the domains that are dead or that don't resolve to anything. Well, we're actually going to use them, all these tools, in this workshop. Probably I should use Nabu at some point because I don't do. And here you can see the health status of a tool. You see it. This tool is pretty cool. This tool is a tool to replace the Burp collaborator client. The Burp collaborator, where basically you could detect requests sent to an URL. And yeah, if you see the other program, look at the development of this tool. It's pretty strong. StreetFinder, it's something that you cannot change much because it's at the end it's using another APIs or software. Notify is really cool. Yeah, I probably should include it in the next workshop. So yes, you finished on my end. Okay, let me see your bug, Anna. Okay, add scope didn't work. There is no output. Okay, so wait, which one are you? Okay, it's because you need to run it. Let me increase the size of my screen a little bit. So in your case, your command will be like this. Okay, you said that you used that, right? Intergamma.cl. And what happened? What was there is no output. Okay, I'm seeing it now. Okay, yeah, that's normal. Run it this way. Run it this way. Run it scope in intergamma. Because you're just adding the scope. We haven't added domains yet, right? So you're adding the definitions. The scope is just a definition of what should be included and what should be ignored on your program, which is one of the most, in my opinion, is the greatest feature of this tool, is that once you define the output and scope, you forget about the program. And then you can, okay, so you already have that's correct, you already have the int scope. So it's okay, you should continue to the next step, which is adding domains to your BVRF, to your program. So you could try to add the other in scope and the out scope, right? And but it's okay. What you have there, it's okay. It's what should be. What should be. Yep. What should be. So if you guys have questions after the workshop, I'm pretty active on my Twitter account. I actually work with many researchers that ask me for advice or help, especially guys from India. They're pretty nice and polite people, and I help people because I have struggled, and in my country I don't work with anyone from here because people working in security field or in bounty hunting, there are too, how can I say it? They don't share. They wouldn't give you advice or tips or what software to use because they're worried that you might take some bounties from them. Like they're worried about if more people get into the field, less work they will have, which is not something that I share. I actually do the opposite. And I remember when, I'm not gonna say names, but the top one in Chile, I met him like 3 years ago, and he was telling me, I'm doing bounty hunting and earning some money, blah blah. It's pretty cool. And I said, well, I would like to do it as well, but I don't know where to start. And he was saying, oh, just I will give you my contact information, Telegram probably. 2 years later, he hasn't sent me a link or anything that would help me. And after I started doing bounty for real, for serious, I reached again him and other people. And it was the same, like I would tell them, I'm doing good. I've discovered some bugs. I've got some bounties and blah, 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 and nothing on return. And that happens in some cultures that their communities are very small. In Chile, the cybersecurity community, top bounty hunters, I think we are 10 on HackerOne that have more than one reputation point. Probably a bit more, 15, something like that. So when the communities are too small, people and the culture of, obviously our culture is we are like that. We don't cooperate that much. We're a pretty individualistic culture. And yes, Indian guys are very friendly, very respectful, and I actually share. For sometimes they don't have. For example, what happened yesterday, last night, I was actually working late. One guy told me that he had the subdomain takeover that I showed you. It was somebody that couldn't take it over because he needed to pay $50, and in India, $50 is a lot more than what it is here. So he said, I don't have any money. Can you do it for me? And I did it for him and said, well, we can split the bounty. Fair. And yeah, it's so Anna, tell me if you can run the last command that I'm showing on my screen. So what I'm doing here is that I am retrieving the scope in. I'm calling subfinder to retrieve the subdomains. And then I will add all the subdomains in its important part, this slash here. Because if you don't put this slash here, it wouldn't work. This slash symbol, it's a symbol to indicate the input coming from the pipe. And the S is just a tag that is source. I put it all the time, but I never use it. But that domain will have a tag that will be subfinder. I wanted to I wanted to mark the domains that were added by different tools. So at some point of my life, I will, have many tools adding domains, and I will say, let's see how many like different or unique domains were retrieved by which tool. So the show new will show you, of course, like the word says, it will show you the new added. It wouldn't show you the ones that are duplicated. So I'm just gonna keep it running. It will take less than a minute. Yeah, so you have the good output. It's working for you. Congratulations. You added, so it's important to add the domains because on the next exercise, we need those domains for the exercise to work. So let's wait for the command to finish. So I don't know why it's taking so long. Or during my tests, it didn't take that long, but probably it's gonna be just a minute. So in the meantime, don't need this one. I don't need that one. Init. I don't need Twitter. What else I have here? Too many. Okay, so in the slides, we already did exercise 1. We're going in exercise 2, which is basically use it through Finder. And my computer is about to explode. Probably it's Zoom that I'm using, Zoom on Linux. And actually last time happened the same. Last time in this conference. Yeah, it's Firefox. Okay, so we finished. Let me see what happened. Let me see the domains. So yeah, I have many domains. It didn't show new, probably because I ran it before. So here I have my domains, right? And we can do the same we can do exactly the same doing asset finder, which is yeah. So in the guide I added the tool that I mentioned before, that it's DNSX that will filter the subdomains that are not responding to an IP. So that way we will simplify or speed up a bit the process. And so now that we have our domains, one of the exercises is to count how many domains we have. So this is one of the considerations that I need to mention. When I run it this way, it will retrieve the active program. But if I include the P, it will retrieve the data from the program that I'm calling, that I'm using as a parameter. And I suggest you to always use with a parameter, because sometimes you don't know which one is active, and which one is active is actually described or defined in this file. And if you see here, here says program intergamma. That's also confusing with the tool, but I don't use it, so I don't care. So your CouchDB, it's deployed locally. So let's okay. So we missed one part, that is adding the URLs, right? So to add the URLs, we need to do pretty much the same, but in this case, we will do BVRF domains, and from domains, we will clean the ones that do not respond, and use HTTPX with the silent flag. Yes, I guess. And then I will use here URL add, and here as a flag source I will use HTTPX. So let's run it part by part. So if we wait, doesn't work. So these are my domains. Let's run DNSSEC with 200 threads. So yeah, we can do this exercise to count them. So there are 333, and see what happens when we filter them with the DNSX. So we ended up having half of the domains. We just cleaned them up, which is pretty fast. It's pretty cool, because that way, when we go to HTTPX, we have less results to analyze. So if you understand the piping, what it's doing, it's like retrieving the domains, then asking the DNS which domains do not resolve, so the ones that I need to get rid of, and then the ones that are valid, I will send it to HTTPX. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so we have it. Okay, yes, because we use silent. Shouldn't be silent. I guess HTTPX. That's what. And the domains. That's probably because of the silent. Yes, HTTPX. One of the cool things about the tools is that since they're the same developer, they have the same, well, I just lied. They have the same, pretty much the same, oh wait, thread. There. They have pretty much the same, yeah, mine works better. So yeah, now I have the URLs that are responding. So I'm just gonna cancel it. Oh, well, we finish it. I don't know why it didn't work. Beginning, probably it's because of the silent. flag, but shouldn't be. Ah, yeah, that's the thing that silent will only output to file and not to the standard output. It's actually working now. That's odd. So silent will get rid of this banner. It will only output the URLs. So in this case, we got a 1. Doesn't make any sense. So we're just gonna go back to what it worked. I don't know why that's happening. Probably something related to the silent flag. So what I'm gonna do now is that I need to add those URLs. So just like what I did with the domains, I will get that output and I will add it to my program, and I will use the tag HTTPX. And oh wait, wrong key. Okay, so let's run it. So now, as you can see, we have added the URLs, and we can check them like this, counting them. We have I don't know why it's so slow. Probably because my computer is so killing my machine. So 33, 73. And so the exercise number 2 was about, what was the question about? Well, was using subfinder, using asset finder, which is the same as subfinder, just to add domains. So we can just skip that part, and in the answer sheet, I'm gonna include it. So I added here add the URLs for you to remember, and yes, we need to add asset finder. And asset finder is the same. Just you need asset finder. Asset finder, I think it's with a -d. No, it's already working there. So yeah, we're gonna run asset finder just like that, and we're gonna see. We're gonna use here just asset finder. And maybe something wrong. Yes. And we're gonna see if we got new domains. If we got any new domain. So I'm going to copy it and put it on the answer sheet. Using asset finder. Yeah, as you can see, we got new domains, so that's why I used them both, because some might have different results. So now we do the same to add from the domains that we have. We need to repeat the process of adding the URLs, right? Because we have new domains now. Let's see if we have any new URLs. It's going to take a while. Okay, so we have new URLs, which is cool. because we expanded our in scope just by running Asset Finder. So we had how many URLs before? 73, and now we have 174, which is cool. And yes, that's it. Let me check what else. Okay, so one of the other tools that you could use as alternative to HTTPX, it's HTTP proof, but I don't use it anymore because it's not maintained. It's abandoned pretty much by the developer, and let's see if it works. But they do the same. They do the same thing. They prove, yeah. So if you run it that way, and we here put HTTP proof, we will see how many domains, how many URLs does it find, if it finds any new domain, any new URLs from the domains that we have. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. It'll take long. So yeah, let me add it to the answer sheet. So this is okay. So this is Finder. Wait, no, HTTPX. And this one is HTTP Pro. If you see, he added more. And now we have 191, which is probably is adding HTTP instead of HTTPX. So that's something that we need to check at some point, but for purpose of the workshop, it's fine. Okay, so exercise 1, it's done. Exercise 2, also done. Count the number of domain, you know how to do that. Proposed exercise. Okay. This one's cool. This one's cool. You could use notify. You need to configure it. Yeah. Well, one of the things that you could do on BBRF, it's listen for changes and run things out of changes on the URLs of the domains. I don't use that function, but also in the last part here, you can see that I have 2 functions that will do all this process that you just watch manually, and it does it automatically. You just need to run. Actually, they have programs that everything that I show you, but if you want to do it manually, it's better. Okay, so now we're going to go. If you have any doubts, I'm going to check the questions. So Anna left, I think. Okay, so next exercise, it's next exercise, where is it? Let me get rid of these tabs that are not helping me. Okay, so next exercise, it's piping URLs into nuclei and improving templates. So one of the things that you can do very easily with BBRF is that you can retrieve the URLs of your programs or all programs. You can do that. So let's pipe it to nuclei. which again, it's a vulnerability scanner that uses templates. And we are going to send it to this template that it will detect PHP admin panels. This is actually, I got several bounties. I got like four bounties of 150 euros, I guess. Looking for vulnerable PHP MyAdmin instances. So in this exercise, we need to pipe. So it says run nuclei template against all URLs. So we're retrieving all the URLs and we are piping it to nuclei. So just wait for a bit. One way to improve the speed is using rate limit 400 and yes, only by one template. Let me show you on another stats, and yeah, stats will show you the stats of the process every 5 seconds. So if you see here, it's running one template against 394 hosts. It's doing 62 requests per second, which is pretty decent. And it's currently 20%, 26%. So yeah, it's just gonna take a bit more. So this exercise is more difficult. It's much more difficult to understand because it's related or regarding the template itself. So I will show you the templates. I will show you one template, but I'm doing this part because I wanted to show you that I won't get any results and what can I do to get results. So let's just finish it. Otherwise, you might think that I'm lying. So I got one result. I said that I wouldn't get any, but I think it was, let me check the answer sheet. Yeah, it was with Intergamma only. So let's do it just like the guide. It will take much less time, and you will see right away. What is this? Did I just delete it? Or was it here? Yeah. So we're running it against Intergamma. Yeah, in the answer sheet, I think I will need to include the following. So the problem is we need to find so this is something that I actually discovered by chance, is that some instances will, I don't remember how I figured it out, but I discovered that some instances will have this screen, right? They will have HTTP authentication. And in that case, the template wouldn't find it. And I will tell you why. And just let it finish. Just gonna finish in probably 10 seconds. %. 98, 99. Just wanted to finish it. Sometimes it doesn't finish though. We just can cancel it. Just keep it there. Okay. So let me show you the template. They haven't updated the template yet. As a proposed an update. I always have trouble with this. Wait. It's not answering. My VM just got stuck. So if I can show it to you, I don't know what happened to the VM. Yeah, there. Doesn't kill it. There. It took control of my terminal. So let me show you the template. So the template, it's here. Spokes panel, HPMyAdmin. So let me explain you the templates in general. So a template will have an ID that should be the same as the file name, and info about the name of the template, the author, the severity. In this case, it's info because you're just looking for PHPMyAdmin instances. It's not a bug. And then you have tags that might be used to call group of templates, right? So what it does is that it runs a GET request with different paths. So as the URL as input, it will add a /phpMyAdmin/ and it will run all these different requests, and it will try to, and the matchers will try to find words inside the body, in this case, the body of the request, of the response, sorry. And this probably is something that I've included, I don't remember. But the structure, it will retrieve the version of the PHPMyAdmin instance, retrieved from the body of the response. So we already know that this case wasn't found, probably because it says access denied. But if you check here the title, let me run it for you. So if you do a curl request to this instance, oh, probably it's too complicated. But if you check here, there is no title. And the template, let me cut the template. What the template is doing is just looking for the HTML title tag and phpMyAdmin. So it's looking for instances that has the title phpMyAdmin, which is a pretty weak matcher, and I will tell you why. Usually, owners of these programs, they will try to hide versions of things that they know that are vulnerable, not to be that easy to be detected or to be called out as a vulnerable version. So what I discovered is that you need to check for something more general, not just the title. So one of the cool things about the template is the built on YAML, that it might be a bit difficult at first, but once you practice a bit. So what I found is that this instance, for example, if I tell you, find a way to find this instance, if you check the source code, one of the things that they cannot remove are the IDs, the ID tags of the source code. So let me get it. So for example, if you look, I already know this because I looked for it, but I found it. But some parts of the code will have this tag that is, in one case, is a path of a team, but somewhere here, it's a, where is it? Let me find it. Get it here. Well, it's actually a path. Okay, so there are many things that we could look for that are particular of this instance that is not depending on the title. So one of the things that I discovered that many instances have is this name or this path. I thought it was an ID, but I was mistaken. It's not an element ID, it's a path. So I just include that here. And we're gonna add here matcher condition or, so we want one of the other. Yeah, so it's condition, no matcher condition. So it's condition. You need to check for the indentation. So let's run it again. But this time we're going to run it with the rate limit higher. Just want to go faster. Oh wait, I did something wrong. That's probably why I had it. Yeah, so nano, yeah, there. So let's see what happens now. Let's see what happens with our results. Couldn't find template. So this is a problem that they should fix at some point. It's not that it's not there, it's just that it's incorrect. So one way to know it, it's valid. Oh wait, so where's the problem then? Oh wait, so they're, like I told you, they're checking that I'm here. So give me 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. So where were we? We were doing this template that didn't work. Let me check. Another nuclei, no templates found. Wait. Ah, yes, in a way. No, wait. This is weird. The template's there. Ah, yeah. Okay, so we use the variables mode. Didn't help. Ah, okay. So if you see here, if you see, I should probably, which version I'm using? Ah, I should, because I'm using the old version of nuclei. Yes, so that was fixed. But if you see here, the problem is in line 29. So if I do like that, line 29 says that I cannot start with the probably the problem is condition. Yes, because it's because of the tabs. You cannot add tabs. It needs to be spaces. You need to configure your. Well, that wasn't true. So it actually. Yeah, here. You need to add spaces. You can configure that on your nano config. But yeah, that works. Which is, those problems are pretty common to happen, but the new version of nuclei, it's showing better outputs, better error messages. So that won't be a problem for you. So now it's running. Let it run. So now if you check of the result, you found one. And since, guys, I don't know if you're following me live, I will, some errors. Some errors in your output. Missed. Did I fix the error? Probably yes. Okay, so let me show you. If you see, I've discovered many new instances of PHP MyAdmin And now we have a problem. Now we have this problem. We don't know what version it is. But there is a trick. Another trick that I discovered is that you can actually see the documentation of the instance. Well, I don't see it in the source code, but I know it is like this. Every PHP admin, depending on the version, some versions have documentations here. You can see the version here on top. And this version is vulnerable to several CVEs that actually I reported them. So let's imagine that I want to report this URL. Actually finding a lot of new things. Probably one of those might be reportable. So I go to my server. Where's my server? Let me remove this one. No, I don't have my servers. So, and I go to find program and I give it the URL, and it will give me right away the URL of the program. And I think I've reported it before. Let's check. One of the cool things about integrity is that you can check easily. Well, the website's pretty slow compared to other ones, but you can see my submissions. And as you can see here, it was accepted. And I actually got paid. Didn't get paid. No, this one didn't get paid. But it was a medium. And which one I reported? I reported this domain, which is actually the one that we are looking. No, that's not the same that we're looking for. But to see, probably found another one that I can report. Let me check the version. So the same trick, doc.html to see the version, and it's 5.1.1, which is not vulnerable to the CVE that I reported here. That is called, and this is the report. Make it bigger. This is the report. So that's the CVE. Yeah, so we actually found many more instances here. But probably they are the same IP address, just with a different domain name. And you can check this actually is different. So also hidden. Paragraph 11, same one. So okay. So the objective of this exercise number 3 was to actually do what I did. They modify the bug, modify the template. So what I've had more successful, my most successful attempts to find bugs are pretty much correlated, I would say 80% to modifying templates. Some templates will, for example, let me show you what I mean by that. In this case, you have possible installation paths, right? In this case, the one that worked was this one, but you could add as many as you want, but it's gonna take longer because for every URL, you're multiplying by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. By 12, so if you every path that you add, you multiply by the amount of URLs that you have. So if you have too many, if you had 1 million URLs, every path you include will add 1,000,000 requests. So it's something to consider, but if you have enough resources or you have enough servers that you can distribute this load, it might be worth it. And yeah, so exercise number 3 is done. Let's check the answer sheet. So the answer sheet, the problem is that we need to find more HTTP instances. The matching of the title is too weak because the title can be easily modified. And so yeah, I hope you understood it. Basically, it's adding more rules, and in my experience, it's what actually discovered many P1s. And because let me show it to you what I did. So they, what's the number? Grep minus pre-auth. Yeah, this is the one, I think. Let's check. Not the one. This one. Yep, this one. So if you look at my screen, the path that is using, it's a path that takes the assumption that the instance, which is a ForgeRock Open AM, it's installed on this path, right? But doing some Google dorking, which is basically finding another instances and looking in Google the same words. For example, I remember that I was looking for like this word. So it will be something like in text. And then I will remove the ones that I don't care. Those are the owner, I mean the company. So we ended up going to see sites like this one. And now you didn't find one. It wasn't the one that I was looking for. But what I mean is that you could find other instances just doing Google dorking. This is not the case also, but because let's see this one. Well, what I'm trying to do is trying to find instances that might give me other indicators of what to look for, right? So far, I haven't found anyone because I'm not doing it correctly, and because I don't remember. But I can tell you right away which ones were. So I have, and I will grab. What's the name of this template? 3464. So I will grab 2021. So I will stupid running. Doesn't find anything. I didn't find what I was looking for. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is that I did that job of looking for instances and I created a new template that it's a OpenAM detector. OpenAM, where's the O? Here. Actually, you see, I created it. So what I did is that I took the time to find another path that this software was installed. So many of these software had SSSO, OpenAM, but it wouldn't work directly like the other one. So this template before was marked as a detector, which is actually just an executor of the payload, right? Actually did the payload manually because it didn't work in most cases. So with this, what I did is that I included all these paths and running this template and using these conditions, because they were very different versions. They were like, they were sold at some point and they changed a lot of things. So I found probably 12, and I found a P1 on a bank and a Chinaman, actually. I have it on LinkedIn. But on my hacker one, I actually discovered several P1s related to the Department of Defense of the US, because they were resolved. Where is it? New one. So as you see, if you see here, it's on another path. Wait, where is it? I probably shouldn't be showing you that, but the thing is that modifying the template led me to find several critical bugs just by including, and then I uploaded to once I use it enough, or I couldn't find more instances, I uploaded to Nuclei, and that way other people will be able to use it. And that will be my contribution to the community, which is important, right? So we have 26 more minutes. Okay, yes. So I'm just gonna explain you the number 4, which is pretty much the same as before, and it gives you the instruction that you need to test it with the runstat program, which is already loaded on your BBRF. So you need to create the idea. Well, it's already been created. It's already been uploaded, but at the time that I prepared this workshop, it wasn't. So the idea is that the step before, what we did is that we manually look for a vulnerable version of PHP MyAdmin, but we can do that with a template. We can do that with the template, and we actually, the way I solve it is that I actually uploaded this template. I think, yes, I think I did. So what I did is that I would do some regex for the version. But the important part is that, do you remember the ones that were hidden? The ones that were hidden were, they respond, let me show it to you for you to believe me. Okay, the ones that were hidden or protected if you do a call request, you will get, and if you do a pull request only of the header, you will get 401, which is unauthorized. So in this case, the template, it's also looking for that response code, and we're looking for the different versions. So these regex will match every version starting in 1, 2, 3, or 4, but with the second value being from 0 to 8. And this is the latest version that won't be matched on this regex matching. And if you run it, I don't think it's gonna work this time because I think they updated it. But let me go for it. So this is the answer sheet. So on the lab guide, what you need to do is you need to run it this way. You need to run it this way. So that way we'll have a lower or a shorter less results, and now we might need to open this file and download it. So we got go to raw, and now we move this file to test YAML. Let me put the proper name. Yes. And now we do nuclei validate just to see if it's correct. Yes, and now we can run it against the URLs from the program. So let me get it. It's here because included space, and then we can do nuclei minus T CVE and then run it. Let's see what happens. Again, it says no template found. Probably because it's not correct. Something wrong with it. Start that. The thing is that it got modified by the Git format or something. Yeah, you see now we found several instances that are vulnerable. I already reported it mere months ago, but they haven't fixed it. I don't know why. They like duplicated, I guess. So I found 2 vulnerable instances, but let's see what happens if I run it with all the URLs. Oh wait, but I did a grep there. So yeah. So in the meantime, I will show you. So the exercise number 5. It's pretty simple. You have a template, and you can use it to report. Like I told you before, I have a GitHub with many templates in case you find another bugs to report. And now that we've finished that, we can go to the exercise. Yeah, here you have the detail. The site that I use to store that I used, or I still use it. It's stack edit, which is pretty cool because you can create your templates on Markdown. So you just copy and paste. All the sites use Markdown to the reports. But the good thing about this is that I think I paid, I don't know how much, not a lot, annually, and I could export in PDF or in other formats, in PDF mostly. So it's very useful when I need to report like a company that doesn't have a program. So I just send them an email with the PDF, and the PDF looks pretty nice, you see. So when I create a report, I don't need to think much. I just replace the URLs, and I check that everything works. And you could do this automatically. Like I told you, I have a script that creates the template, that retrieves the template and fills with the values and report it to HackerOne. And eventually I'm gonna improve it to use templates as a YAML format. That would be easier for me to include them, to include more, because let me show you how difficult it is. On my source code of the wait, the repositories. So if I go to the API client, if you see create the reports, this is the template. It's difficult to read because it doesn't support new lines. It took me a while to figure out how to do it. You need to get the weakness from the site, which is pretty silly. So imagine how much simpler it would be if I had a YAML template that I just can call, like nuclei. Well, it doesn't look that bad though. It could be worse. It doesn't have many lines, but I only support 4 different bugs. Yeah, I hope so at some point people, because I'm using it sometimes to report like many bugs of the same type. So I just modified the values, their URL, and the owner, the company, not the program. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I use for templates. And yeah, so proposed exercise, try to get a bounty. So the last exercise, or the last part that we're gonna see, is one of the tools that I like the most. It's called Axiom. And the installation, I just closed it. The installation process is not simple. It's prone to many errors depending on your system. Some people on the latest workshop install it right away. And I need to change this link. Okay. I need to change that link for the other one. This one. Two. Okay. So if you use this link, you will get $100 free credit that you can use to test your machine. The installation process, it's, like I said, it's prone to errors depending on your configuration. If you manage to install it properly, you need to create a fleet, and a fleet is basically a group of 10 droplets or instances or VMs, whatever you want to call them. So in this case, I will run it on my configuration, on my machine, on my proper server. So look at this command. Let me see if it's running something. Yeah, I was running something last night. Forgot about it. It's timeout. Just let me kill it. Okay. So in my case, I have 30 instances. You could have more if you have, if they authorize it to you. In digital options, it's easier to have line-out, have more restrictions. But no, this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to, okay. So I can, if I want to list how many instances I have, how many, as you can see, I have 30 different droplets or lineouts or VMs. And every droplet have a different IP, which is good. That way you get better results if they block your IP or they rate limit you. You got another 30. So I'm gonna run it what I wanted to run, but I'm going to limit to head minus 10,000. So I'm going to run every template against all my URLs, but only the first 10,000 URLs. So it's gonna take a while, probably not as much, only 10,000 URLs, not that much. I usually run it against all my URLs, which are like, this time 800,000. I have many programs that are disabled. So if I run it against all of them, it would be around 1.7 million. But it's not, it's taking a while. Let me check the server. The server has some problems or what? No, it's pretty good. Just let it run because probably won't affect the number that much. The head won't affect the head because it's just going to wait for the first command to finish and then cut the first 10,000. I wanted a way to, I don't know why it's taking so long. Probably when you run it on your own, you're not expecting it to run fast, but since I have two guys here, so as you can see, it's running, it's getting a lot of results that are info. A lot of templates are resolving, and sometimes you get proper bugs just out of the box. So if you check the data, what it does, what it's cool about Axiom is that it will split the input between 30 files, and it will send every file to a VM and run nuclei on it. So you see here, I'm getting these screens because I'm getting the output of 30 nuclei instances. And imagine how fast it is, the 30 times faster. Well, sometimes they're much faster than your local machine because of the internet latency or other parameters that are different from your machine compared to the VM. So yeah, so what I will look for, what I will do, sometimes there are false positives or things that are not vulnerable anymore. For example, this takeover, subdomain takeover. But believe me that I've run this scan and I've found several things that are vulnerable and I've reported them. So that's why I'm telling you that I haven't really get into manual process, because every time that I run this, and every time the longer it passes, I mean, the more time I'm doing Bug Bounty Hunter, more programs I have. So every time that I run this command, I will, at this time that I run nuclei, there are more templates. Then I will modify templates, then I will get more results, and then I will. The bad thing is that sometimes I get a lot of bugs from programs that are not paid. So I will increase my reputation on HackerOne, but I wouldn't get bounties. I wouldn't get, well, I've been having like $300, $400 per month on average in the last 6 months, I think. But if I get a P1 that I'm waiting for, that might be a game changer. Might be closer to be a book bounty hunter billionaire. Yeah, there's a lot of guys posting on Twitter the new Lamborghini they bought, or how much money are they getting. They're probably half of them or less. They're really actually getting that amount of money. It's difficult though. It's if you see, it's only 1%, and running it against, multiplied by 30, 10,000, around 10,000 hosts, and it's gonna take a while. And what I usually do is that I exclude templates that I know that they don't give a lot of information. For example, this one. If you see this one, the only thing that it will, so when you have a template that gives a lot of output, like for example here, like I have 6, 7, you know that it's something that it's not going to be worth to report, because they don't care, especially Adobe. So at some point from somewhere, the template retrieve a local IP, which is cool. I haven't checked that template lately, so I might need to check it out. The code. And let me. Yeah, that's a good example of something that I want to show you. So one of the things that let's say this case, for example, which is a pretty simple one. And if you didn't see what happened, I was running Axiom on a screen. So screen is a way to run processes inside the server, or not inside, but on a different, on a kind of terminal that is running on the server. I'm sorry if my explanation is not good enough, but it keeps running on the server, and then you can go back during screen R, and it's like you never left. So what I did is that I had this URL. I forgot the actual name of the really complicated things to move around. So let me go back to the result itself. But something with IP addresses. I'm not going to find it. Where is it? One second. I think I'm going to find here. So this is the name of the template, and this is the IP. I'm just going to copy it because I have everything stored on my extension, clipboard extension. So I created a simple script or a function that is built on Bash, that it will, because I'm always doing the same steps, like I need to test if it's a false positive, so I will give it the name of the template, the ID of the template, and then I missed it. And I will give it the URL, which is something I lost. Go back again. So let me get this one. And now it's stored on the clipboard. So there. So I want to check it manually, right? What I'm trying to do is check it manually. What happens? What is it about? So if you see here, it's I'm running it on debug mode. debug mode. So what's happening is that the template, it's doing a request that it's getting a response from, it's like a redirection to this location, which is right for sure redirection to a local address, to a local IP. So if you check the template, and I also have another function to do it easily, is that I just locate cut and the name of the template, and since the name is unique and it's the same as the ID of the template, it will locate it and cut it for me. So now I can read the code. I can read the source code and I will see what it's doing. It's doing a get request. I don't know what that means. The plus, I don't know what the plus means. So it's doing matcher. Well, it's actually doing just a simple get request with the user agent, accepting everything. And yes, it's trying to look for that. So it's then you can find more information here about the bot. Not all the templates have a lot of information, so sometimes you will spend a lot of time looking for what they are. But then you need to prove impact. Many programs wouldn't care much about local IP being revealed because it doesn't have such a big impact. Some programs will check them. Let me read the chats. What's not updated? I'm editing it live. Pray for you. Who's praying for me? For me? What does it mean? What does this mean? I don't understand Ukrainian. Non-Russian supportable. Yeah, I will check that later. So you have any questions? Because I'm about to finish. We have everything. We cover the Axiom. Axiom, it's great. It's one of my favorite tools. I not only run my scans, I run other tools as well. For example, since I have so many URLs, I need to clean them. I need to clean the ones that are not working anymore. So we'll let me show you. It's better to show than to say. So I will run HTTPX. Do you remember the one that I ran before? But against using all these domains that are 4 million, around 4 million. So I will run HTTPX against these 4 million domains, but looking for different ports and using 120 threads. And it might take, using the 30 machines, it might take a day or so, which is, it's a lot, but without Axiom, it will be much longer, 30 times longer on average. So I would like to know if you have any questions. Who's praying for me? So yes, let me go to the slides to see if I have something else. I guess I do. I do have something else because I remember that so for nuclei that you have the running nuclei, templates to develop, difficult to test, the documentation is not good, it's getting better. Yes, it's getting better by the day, mostly. And yeah, we already said that. Let's wait to yeah, actually some templates that I think I have 13 or 14 templates. Exercise 4, exercise Axiom. Yes, we did that. We did that. This is not correct. probably, well, that's it. If you wanna, the feedback is not available because it's password protected. No, it's not password protected anymore. So if you wanna send your feedback, be happy to get it. If it's bad or if it's good. Well, consider that it's difficult to do a workshop online. So here you got the feedback URL. And yes, that's it. Great. Thank you for this opportunity to give this workshop for the second time in a row. I hope next year I can go to Ukraine. Okay, guys, have a good day.